My father felt sorry that I had secretly loved someone for 10 years, so he took matters into his own hands. He drugged his old friend and sent him to my bed. When Benjamin Jameson woke up, he coldly agreed to marry me. Shortly after our wedding, he started taking frequent business trips abroad, disappearing for 3 years. I gave birth to our daughter, Esther Jameson, and waited for him to return. 3 years later, I heard he was finally returning. I skipped an important social engagement, took my daughter in my arms and rushed to the airport to meet him. Esther reached out to him eagerly, asking for a hug. He glanced at me indifferently and said, "Sorry, I have mysophobia." From that day on, my daughter and I washed our hands at least thrice whenever we touched anything. I kept our home spotless, but he still never came back. Nor had he ever held his daughter. Until I saw a video clip where someone asked him, "Ben, what do you think is the happiest moment in life?" He responded nonchalantly, probably last week overseas. When I coaxed Jessica to sleep, then pulled Cynthia into the bathroom. As the people around him burst into laughter, I felt my whole body turn ice cold. Cynthia was his ex-girlfriend, the one he had never truly let go of, and Jessica was her daughter. Rumors had it that they had been living together for the past 3 years abroad, and it turned out to be true. My heart died ultimately, leaving a divorce agreement and taking my daughter to cancel our identity and go abroad. The nanny picked up my daughter from kindergarten and Esther cried until her eyes got swollen. "Mommy, do I not have a daddy?" she asked between hiccups, full of grievance. Daddy promised he would come to the parent-teacher meeting today, but when he arrived, he said he was Jessica's daddy instead. "Mommy, they all say I'm a child without a father," she cried uncontrollably. My chest ached as I pulled her into my arms, my eyes burning with tears. I wanted to console her, but the words got lodged in my throat as I remembered Benjamin's indifferent attitude. I regretted everything. I thought waiting for 3 years would mean he had finally come to his senses, that he was ready to return and reunite with us. However, I was wrong. He only returned because Cynthia wanted to. He bought a plane ticket without hesitation, arranged everything, and even transferred his ex-girlfriend's daughter to the best kindergarten. On the day I went to the airport to meet him, Esther put on her prettiest dress and asked me nervously, "Mommy, will Daddy like me?" I nodded. "You're Daddy's only daughter. Of course, he will." Unfortunately, when we arrived at the airport, we saw Benjamin holding Cynthia's hand, carrying a 3-year-old girl in his arms. Esther and I stood frozen in place. Benjamin barely spared me a glance. "Sorry, I need to take care of Cynthia and Jessica first. You two go home." He didn't even look at Esther, but his eyes were full of warmth when he gazed at Jessica. I shut my eyes in despair. "I'm sorry, Esther. It is all Mommy's fault. Next time, Mommy will go to your parent-teacher meeting." After washing Esther's face, I finally coaxed her to sleep, but her little brows were still tightly furrowed. "Daddy, hold me." It felt like a knife stabbed into my heart. If only that night 3 years ago had never happened, maybe Esther wouldn't have to suffer like this. 3 years ago, my father took pity on my unspoken love and drugged Benjamin Jameson, sending him to my bed. I was shocked. "Dad, are you trying to ruin my life?" He sighed. "I've known for years that you love Benjamin. That boy has feelings for you too. He just refuses to admit it." That night, when he was drunk, I even heard him call your name. Honestly, I got tired of watching you two beat around the bush. Might as well seal the deal. I resisted with all my might, but the next second, a wave of unbearable heat surged through my body. My father chuckled. "I also spiked your drink. Just cherish this night, alright?" Then, my father locked the door from the outside. When Benjamin woke up the following day, he spoke coldly, "Jocelyn Stevens, I will take responsibility for this and marry you." I thought my happy life was about to begin, but I accidentally overheard his conversation with a friend at a gathering. "Then, you should count yourself lucky. Jocelyn has a great figure, comes from money, and most importantly, she loves you. Just settle down with her." Benjamin exhaled a puff of smoke and sneered. At first, I had some feelings for her, too, but I never expected her to be so easy. The thought of her drugging me and forcing herself on me that night disgusts me. I hadn't even figured out how to explain things to him before he got his visa and left the country 2 weeks later. That night, however, left me with a child. I gave birth to my daughter, Esther, alone, eagerly awaiting his return. Instead, I found him entangled with Cynthia and her daughter. The villa was eerily quiet. I picked up my phone, just about to call Benjamin and ask when he would come home. Just then, the door swung open and he walked in indifferently. He glanced at the sleeping Esther and casually said, "Jessica is coming over to play tomorrow. You and Esther should go out." Noticing my confused expression, he smiled faintly and explained, "Jessica is possessive. She can't stand seeing another little girl call me daddy." The anger that had been building up inside me finally exploded. I let out a bitter laugh. "Benjamin, do you even remember who your real daughter is? Do you know what happened to Esther at kindergarten today?" Benjamin frowned slightly and cut me off. "Jocelyn Stevens, I don't need you to remind me. I'm sorry about what happened at kindergarten today. Jessica also had a parent-teacher meeting today. Cynthia and her ex-husband are divorced. She's a single mom and can't handle everything. Besides, before I met you, I promised Cynthia that I would never let her suffer. I've already married you, just as you wished. So, you have no right to stop me from caring for them. This is my debt to them." After speaking, Benjamin threw his coat aside and went straight to the bathroom. The sound of running water drowned out my helpless sobs. If I had known marriage with him would turn out like this, I would have rather died than given that night. I smiled bitterly at the divorce agreement I had just drafted. I would have divorced him long ago if it weren't for Esther, but I decided to give marriage one more shot after considering her suffering later. I didn't want her to grow up without a father. Early in the morning, Esther woke up and learned that her father had returned. She jumped excitedly on her bed. I want to show Daddy the painting I just finished. Children are forgetful. Esther had already forgiven Benjamin for what happened at kindergarten yesterday. She happily ran downstairs, but as soon as she reached the living room, she saw Cynthia and Jessica. Benjamin was gently peeling an orange for Jessica. Daddy, who are they? She asked. Benjamin scowled when he saw that Esther was still at home. Why are you still here? Where's your mom? Esther was startled, but still carefully held up the picture she had spent a whole week drawing. This is a family portrait I made for you, Daddy. I wanted to give it to you when you came home. Just as she was about to hand it over, a small hand snatched it away. What a stupid drawing. Jessica stomped her foot and tore the picture in half. She stood with her hands on her hips, glaring arrogantly before shoving my daughter hard. He's my daddy. Esther, all the kids at school say you're a bastard child. Who permitted you to call my daddy yours? I was instantly alarmed when I saw Esther collapse on the ground, crying. I helped her up and glared coldly at Jessica. Apologize. Benjamin frowned tightly, his tone filled with displeasure. Jocelyn, why are you being so harsh on a child? He scooped Jessica into his arms without hesitation. I already told you last night. Jessica doesn't like hearing others call me daddy. She's just upset, not intentionally trying to push Esther. I stood firm, refusing to back down. Not intentional? You saw it yourself, didn't you? Benjamin, she just called Esther a bastard with her own mouth. Tell me, is Esther really a bastard? Despite hesitating, Benjamin softly persuaded Jessica without offering an apology. Meanwhile, Cynthia's eyes flickered before she smiled graciously and apologized. Miss Stevens, I'm really sorry. Jessica grew up abroad and is a bit straightforward. She just speaks her mind, so please don't take it to heart. The tiny girl in his arms looked even more arrogant after she said that. I didn't say anything wrong. All the kids at school say it. Esther is a bastard. She stole my daddy. I clenched my fists and turned my icy gaze to Benjamin. He once said he had misophobia, so Esther and I tolerated him and did our best to accommodate his ways. He used working overtime as an excuse to get entangled with another woman, and I chose to turn a blind eye. Still, I couldn't stand by while someone called my daughter a bastard. Ben, I'll ask you one more time. Is Esther a bastard? A trace of irritation flashed across Benjamin's face, but he only sneered coldly. You know very well how she became my daughter, don't you? Enough. Today is Jessica's day to visit. Let's not ruin the mood. Cynthia and her daughter stood to the side, gloating. Benjamin held Jessica in his arms, his voice full of affection. Daddy will buy you a new toy, okay? And a pretty Elsa dress, too. Okay. Jessica beamed as Benjamin doted on her. I felt my heart shiver as I watched his leaving figure. Finally, after weighing my words over and over, I said the sentence I had never dared to before. Benjamin, let's get a divorce. His footsteps halted. He turned back with a cold stare. Jocelyn, do you think this is funny? If you think this will threaten me, then fine. As you wish. After that, he walked away without looking back. A flicker of satisfaction flashed in Cynthia's eyes, but she quickly masked it, stepping forward with an apologetic smile. I'm really sorry. Benjamin and I are just friends. He's just a deeply affectionate person. He felt bad that I got divorced so early, leaving Jessica without a father, so he paid extra attention to us. Please don't take it the wrong way and don't let this upset you. She even added my contact before she left, saying that she wanted to make up for Esther's damaged painting. Cynthia, come on. While still holding Jessica, Benjamin stood nearby and softly called to her. Coming. Cynthia happily ran after him. They hadn't gone far when I heard their conversation clearly. Benjamin, seriously? Miss Stevens was just saying it out of anger. How could you just agree to a divorce so easily? Benjamin scoffed. She used every trick in the book to get this marriage. Do you really think she'd be willing to let it go? She was just a little harsh on Jessica just now. This is just a small punishment for her. Give it some time and she'll be begging me to come back. I couldn't help but let out a cold laugh. Benjamin, people change. Jocelyn Stevens, who once threw herself into love without hesitation, is gone. Now, for the sake of my daughter, I will choose to walk away from you completely.